Thanks everyone for joining us today for another IPA talk. Today we're going to talk about Safe2Help with Samantha Kanish. And so Samantha, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, as Allison had mentioned, my name is Samantha Kanish. I am the Safe2Help Illinois Program Manager out of the Illinois Emergency Management Agency. I oversee all aspects of the Safe2Help Illinois program, as well as serve as the school safety policy advisor.
All right, great. Well, tell us a little bit about Safe2Help. I think some of our members probably know about it, but some may not be maybe unfamiliar. So if you could just share with us what's it all about?
Sure. So a lot of people probably associate Safe2Help with the helpline. And to go over that, the helpline, it's completely free and it's available to every K through 12 school across the state, regardless if it's public, private, charter, or whatnot. And it's a confidential way for students to reach out in the absence of a trusted adult about concerns regarding bullying, or maybe there's some mental health struggles such as stress, anxiety, depression, as well as threats of violence or other issues that may impact school safety or student wellness. But there's also some other components to the program that maybe are not well known. We actually utilize a student focus group, and those students told us they would like to have access to reliable and trustworthy self-help resources. And so our website, safe2helpil.com, actually provides self-help resources for students to utilize. Right now, we have various topics such as abuse, bullying, self-harm, as well as stress and anxiety, and healthy coping skills, healthy relationships. And we'll continue to add additional topics based on feedback from the field as well as from students. But also, we offer educators a mental health toolkit, which helps supplement current Illinois social emotional learning standards. And again, this program is completely and entirely free for all K through 12.
That's great. That's great. I'm sure that there's a lot of people using it, hopefully, to help themselves through some tough times and maybe even help a friend or a family member too. So that's wonderful.
Absolutely.
So why is it so important? I mean, I think we've already kind of established why it's so important. Obviously, we want to get kids help before something, terrible happens, or, before they kind of, need additional assistance. But what are some other reasons why you think it's so important?
Well, I think we need to understand that students know information like what's going on with their peers, and that's if and quite frankly, before adults even find out. And so students kind of need to have that safe environment or a safe space if they don't have relationships built with trusted adults, especially now since we're now going into in-person learning, and they lost 2 years where they were developing relationships. So maybe they were in 6th grade and now, they're in 8th grade or 9th grade. And so they just kind of completely skipped and went to a larger school, right, and are struggling with those relationships and coming out of that social isolation period. And so it's really important, like I had mentioned, for them to have another way to share that information with school or district trusted adults, so that it is brought to their attention, resources and support can be provided to that student. And it's another thing too, that to stress the importance that students really, this is their program and they can really make an impact amongst their peers, because they also see changes in behavior from their peers. And by giving them tools and resources on our website to start that conversation with their peers,
sure,
it helps them identify those changes in behavior, reaching out to that trusted adult or Safe2Help, and really letting them know that they can actually possibly save a life just by raising awareness and bringing it to the attention of someone that can actually do something.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I can think of lots of times where growing up where, you knew something was off with a friend, and it, it may not be something that's, life threatening, hopefully, but, it before their parents know it, certainly. And, you may not feel comfortable telling your parents, or certainly not their parents. And I think that's a great opportunity for kids to be able to tell somebody, to get somebody some help without having to kind of navigate some of those more difficult conversations with the adults that they do trust, but just it's uncomfortable. So that's good to have a source for them to do so.
Absolutely right. It is an uncomfortable,
Yeah.
thing to kind of broach a subject, because you don't want to either offend, or maybe it's a delicate subject or whatnot. So yeah, I completely agree. It is difficult, and that's why it's really important to kind of just talk about it. Talk about those hard, tough subjects, and equip them with the tools they can to, basically help them ask those questions.
Sure. So what happens when a student calls Safe2Help? Who do they talk to, and how does that information get shared with the right people?
So I really appreciate that question. So we have a great team, and one of the benefits with our helpline is that they're actual adults, real people on the other side of that lifeline. They're available 24/7, 365. So that it's 3 a.m, somebody's there to talk to. If it's a holiday, a weekend, or summer break, there's always another person on the other end of that line that is willing to talk, willing to discuss whatever it is that student is facing. And the call center staff, we require them to undergo not just initial training, but also ongoing training. They must have youth mental health first aid training. They must be able to interact with students who may be young, who may have a disability, but most importantly, that may be in a stressful situation or whatnot. And so they are equipped to handle that, as well as some of the call takers actually had previous experience with social work or in a mental health field.
That's great.
So we do see sometimes students, reaching out that maybe they want to vent, or because something's stressing them out, or they have a legitimate concern. And so we really want students as well as educators to know that there is literally a human being on the other end of that line, and that they actually are individuals that are highly trained in this area. And there's 5 ways that students can reach out, but the most popular ones have been through the text message, Safe2, that's number 1, followed by our website and our mobile app. That's free and available on the Android and Apple platforms.
Great. So what happens when the student makes the call, and then so once that information is taken in, how does a referral get made? How does that information go back to the school in some way so that they're aware of what's going on? What happens after the fact?
Sure. So depending on the platform, there is 2-way communication.
Okay.
So the student is identifying the school that they are attending, or that their friend that they're making the report about is attending.
Sure.
And they're providing basically the who, what, when, where. And as much information as possible, that's really important.
Right.
And from that information, we are sharing that with vetted contacts from the school or district. And so it's important that schools and districts provide contact information, regardless if they wanted to promote Safe2Help, because they can quickly access this information and be able to act upon it upon notification that one has been received.
Okay.
And so that's very important. Like I said, that school and district administrators understand how that works. So thank you for that question.
No, of course. Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably what maybe the biggest goal of today's talk is, to kind of share that information with district and building level administrators, that whether or not you want to share this with your students or your staff, like you said, promote it within the school community, to be able to receive that information is really important, so that at least you know what's going on with your kids and staff or whomever that's interacting with your school community. So, can you talk a little bit more about how district and school building administrators can get involved with that and sign up for that?
Sure. So we're always happy to meet any schools or districts that are interested in learning more.
Okay.
They can reach out to us at info@safe2helpil.com. And we will get connected with you and we can schedule a meet to kind of go over the overview of the program, the process, procedures, those sorts of things that happen. It's very quick. It's very simple and easy. And the registration process is honestly just providing a district contact as well as a school contacts, and that can be done by building or by district. It's just however those individual schools or districts decide to set that up. And so it's really important. We provide free materials as well and training materials for your staff through a online platform that can be accessed 24/7, 365 at your convenience, because we also understand that school days get busy and what you plan for maybe not what it's going to be on the agenda for that day, because you have to adapt to what comes at you. And so that's why we try to make it as accessible and easy as possible. So the first step is just reaching out to us at our email, again, at info@Safe2Help.
Okay. That's great. So can you talk a little, without, of course, like divulging, personal details, but can you share a little bit about what are the kinds of things that you are hearing or that students or individuals are calling in or texting in about more recently?
Sure. So, we've seen a wide range of reports coming in. Since the program started, we've seen roughly 879 reports that have come in. And bullying is our number one report that comes in, and it's right now trending so far this school year as well, being the number one. We've had drugs, which does include the vaping category in that kind of incident type. We've also had, and to round out the top three, suicidal ideation as reported by another student.
Okay.
However, like I said, we've seen the wide range. We've seen everything from fighting, sexual assault, cyberbullying, vandalism, alcohol use, eating disorders, and even especially since last year with the Oxford, Michigan and Uvalde, Texas shooting, threats of planned school attacks. And so, as you had mentioned before, this is confidential, and so I obviously can't divulge details on that, but we have seen a wide range of it. And we're also in contact with other state programs that are just like Safe2Help in other states. And they're seeing the same kind of wide range of reports coming in from their students.
Sure.
And what we've seen is that coming out of COVID-19, the types of reports that are coming in are a lot heavier in nature. So like the sexual assaults, the fighting, the assaults, assault and batteries, those sorts of things. They weren't previously, reported as frequently as they are now coming out. And so that's really important that, having not just developing relationships with your students, but also having a confidential platform available to them that you can really learn about what's going on amongst your in your building and amongst your student population.
Sure. I think our members would agree with that they've seen an elevated nature of the behaviors that have been occurring in schools. And, it's a combination of things, right? It's coming out of COVID and the social isolation and just, families have lost family members, or there's been a lot of grief and trauma as a result of that. So I think, again, those behaviors have been elevated just because of all those things that are happening in the world and around us. So can you talk a little bit then? So a district receives a lot of that information from a student. What's law enforcement's role in that, or what is the role of when perhaps a student says, "Well, I know somebody that's thinking of doing something at school." So what happens after that once that information is received? Does the school receive it, or does anyone else get that information?
So in that event, basically. Sure. So what happens, we call those kind of critical events, right? Threat to life.
Sure.
And type of nature. And so in that instance, we're not just simultaneously contacting school and district contacts, but we're reaching out to the actual 911 because, depending on the nature of the information received, we need to relay that information that's important for 911 to know. And so if, it's a medical emergency, an ambulance can be dispatched. If it's like a threat of a planned school attack, then law enforcement is dispatched from 911 based on the information that the student provides. And so we have each and every school in the state already matched to their closest 24/7 911 call center.
Okay.
And so criticals are being handled appropriately. And if we do not have contacts for that school, we will reach out to you directly,
Gotcha.
informing you of that information. Again, another emphasis, provide that regardless if you already have a reporting system in or not, because social media and the world digital age that we live in, there's no boundaries, and students will continue to hear about this program from word of mouth.
Sure.
And so again, important just to provide contact so that you can quickly access that information.
Gotcha. That's great. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us about Safe2Help that we didn't cover already? Is there anything else we need to know?
So it's really a partnership, and I really want to stress that because we can't really address student wellness or student safety without working together. And so it's really important that I emphasize that this program does not dictate to each school how to respond to this.
Right.
We are providing that information so that you are aware of what's going on and so that you can provide those additional supports. And so with that partnership, we do solicit feedback from you all to understand, hey, what kind of materials or social emotional learning materials do you think you need? Or from students, what topics would you like to see on our website? And so this program will continue to evolve and continue to adapt to trends that we see, as well as feedback from you all. So when you register and you see us reaching out to you for your feedback, please provide that. That really does help grow this program, and you do have a say in it as to how we move forward. And so I really do appreciate, you taking the time for this talk, because I think it's really important and it's really timely, especially right now, with the focus coming right back to student wellness and school safety.
Definitely. Well, we appreciate your time as well. I think we'll kind of wrap things up and thank everyone for their time and watching. Again, this has been another IPA talk about the Safe2Help program. My name is Allison Maley, and I'm with the Illinois Principals Association. Have a great National Principals Month, and we'll see you soon.